The factory whistle screamed through the frozen dawn as 1,000 tired souls moved like shadows through the snow. Among them walked a man named Ivan, his breath heavy with cold and silence. He had once believed the posters that promised equality, where every man was a brother and every woman a comrade. But years had turned those dreams into chains. His wife queued for bread that never came. His son vanished one night after whispering a joke about the leader, and his neighbor disappeared after speaking too freely at dinner. The red banners still fluttered proudly, but they hid a truth darker than winter itself. Ivan had learned that in the Soviet Union, even your thoughts could betray you. And as he stared at the gray sky that morning, he realized something no one dared to say aloud. Revolution had devoured its own children, and he was one of them. The Soviet dream began as a promise of fairness, a world built by the hands of the working class. Factories rose, slogans echoed, and hope filled the empty stomachs of millions. But behind the songs and speeches lay fear that silenced every whisper of doubt. People were taught to smile in public and cry in secret. The streets were lined with portraits of leaders who never saw the hunger in their people's eyes. Children were told to report their own parents if they spoke against the state, and families learned to love with caution, afraid that love itself could be used as evidence. To live in the Soviet Union was to wear a mask that grew heavier with every passing year. It wasn't a country of equals. It was a stage where everyone acted, knowing that one wrong line could cost them everything. And Ivan had forgotten his role. The morning shift began with the clang of steel and the dull rhythm of machinery that never slept. Ivan's hands moved on instinct, tightening bolts and feeding metal sheets into roaring mouths of fire. Around him, men worked in silence, their eyes hollow from years of watching their friends vanish without reason. The air smelled of smoke, oil, and fear. Every poster on the wall screamed loyalty. Every newspaper spoke of glory. But the truth was starvation, corruption, and endless waiting. At night, he returned to his crumbling apartment, where his wife sat beside a flickering lamp, knitting in silence because words were dangerous. They had once talked of escape, of running to a freer world across the border, but the border was guarded not by soldiers alone. It was guarded by hope itself, crushed under boots of propaganda. One evening, a man named Petrov, a factory supervisor, came to Ivan's door with trembling hands. He whispered that the authorities were watching, that someone had reported Ivan for questioning the party. Ivan froze, his heart pounding louder than the machines at work. He hadn't said anything, not aloud. But in this land, silence was guilt enough. Days later, the knock came. It wasn't a knock, it was a command. 2 officers in gray coats entered, their faces cold as marble. They searched everything, even the drawers where his son's old toys lay untouched. They found nothing, but nothing wasn't innocence in the Soviet Union. They dragged him away, his wife screaming until her voice cracked. In the interrogation room, light burned through his eyes. Questions repeated until truth lost all meaning. "You love your country?" they asked. "Yes," he whispered. "Then why do you think it fails?" Silence sealed his fate. He was sent north, to the camps where winter ruled like a god. Days turned into years and men turned into ghosts, breaking stone for bread that never filled them. Ivan watched men die for a stolen potato, for a whispered prayer, for nothing at all. But in that frozen wasteland, he also saw something the party could never control. The quiet strength of survival. When a guard dropped his coat one night, Ivan didn't steal it. He covered a dying man with it instead. Kindness became rebellion, compassion a weapon stronger than fear. Word of his defiance spread among the prisoners. Even in the darkest place on earth, he became a symbol, not of resistance, but of remembrance. The system could break bones, but not humanity. Years later, when the camp gates finally opened, Ivan was no longer young. The Soviet flag still waved, but the world beneath it had begun to crack. He returned to his city, only to find strangers in his home and silence where laughter used to live. His wife had died waiting. His son's name had been erased from all records. Yet, as he walked through the same gray streets, he saw children playing freely for the first time. The empire that once claimed eternity was already dying, and he had lived long enough to see it fade. Standing beneath the same red banner that once promised paradise, Ivan smiled. A smile not of joy, but of quiet victory. Because he knew now that no system, no dictator, no prison could last forever. The truth always waited, patient and cold beneath the snow, and one day even the ice would remember.